Running taught me valuable lessons. In cross-country competition, training counted more than intrinsic ability, and I could compensate for a lack of natural aptitude with diligence and discipline. I applied this in everything I did. If there are dreams about a beautiful South Africa, there are also roads that lead to their goal. Two of these roads could be named goodness and forgiveness. People respond in accordance to how you relate to them. If you approach them on the basis of violence, that's how they'll react. But if you say, we want peace, we want stability, we can then do a lot of things that will contribute towards the progress of our society. Intervention only works when the people concerned seem to be keen for peace. I was not a messiah, but an ordinary man who had become a leader because of extraordinary circumstances. Does anybody really think that they didn't get what they had because they didn't have the talent, or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment? In countries where innocent people are dying, the leaders are following their blood rather than their brains. Nonviolence is a good policy when the conditions permit. If the United States of America or Britain is having elections, they don't ask for observers from Africa or from Asia. But when we have elections, they want observers. I was called a terrorist yesterday, but when I came out of jail, many people embraced me, including my enemies, and that is what I normally tell other people who say those who are struggling for liberation in their country are terrorists. I dream of the realization of the unity of Africa, whereby its leaders combine in their efforts to solve the problems of this continent. I dream of our vast deserts, of our forests, of all our great wildernesses. After one has been in prison, it is the small things that one appreciates. Being able to take a walk whenever one wants, going into a shop and buying a newspaper, speaking or choosing to remain silent. The simple act of being able to control one's person. I dream of an Africa which is in peace with itself. I cannot say for certain if there is such a thing as love at first sight, but I do know that the moment I first glimpsed Winnie Namzamo, I knew that I wanted to have her as my wife. I can't pretend that I'm brave and that I can beat the whole world. I am confident that nobody will accuse me of selfishness if I ask to spend time, while I am still in good health, with my family, my friends, and also with myself. I would wear the blue overalls of the field worker and often wore round, rimless glasses known as Maserati tea glasses. I had a car, and I wore a chauffeur's cap with my overalls. The pose of chauffeur was convenient because I could travel under the pretext of driving my master's car. If you are poor, you are not likely to live long. I should tie myself to no particular system of society other than of socialism. Unlike some politicians, I can admit to a mistake. On the first day of school, my teacher, Miss Mdingane, gave each of us an English name and said that from thenceforth that was the name we would answer to in school. This was the custom among Africans in those days and was undoubtedly due to the British bias of our education. I cannot conceive of Israel withdrawing if Arab states do not recognize Israel within secure borders. When I came to Johannesburg from the countryside, I knew nobody, but many strangers were very kind to me. I then was dragged into politics, and then, subsequently, I became a lawyer. Give a child love, laughter, and peace, not AIDS. There are times when a leader must move out ahead of the flock, go off in a new direction, confident that he is leading his people the right way. I started to make a study of the art of war and revolution and, whilst abroad, underwent a course in military training. If there was to be guerrilla warfare, I wanted to be able to stand and fight with my people and to share the hazards of war with them. I have retired, but if there's anything that would kill me, it is to wake up in the morning not knowing what to do. Let each know that for each the body, the mind, and the soul have been freed to fulfill themselves. Sometimes I feel like one who is on the sidelines, who has missed life itself. I detest racialism because I regard it as a barbaric thing, whether it comes from a black man or a white man. Leaders in all spheres who are living with HIV should be encouraged. not coerced, to lead by example and disclose their HIV status. We can't afford to be killing one another. By ancestry, I was born to rule. I made a mistake by being ejected from the presidency. Next time, I will choose a cabinet which will allow me to be life president. I really wanted to retire and rest and spend more time with my children, my grandchildren, and of course with my wife. I realized quickly what Mandela and Tambo meant to ordinary Africans. It was a place where they could come and find a sympathetic ear and a competent ally. A place where they would not be either turned away or cheated. A place where they might actually feel proud to be represented by men of their own skin color. There are so many men and women who hold no distinctive positions, but whose contribution towards the development of society has been enormous. I will not leave South Africa, nor will I surrender. Only through hardship, sacrifice, and militant action can freedom be won. The struggle is my life. I will continue fighting for freedom until the end of my days. I have been influenced in my thinking by both West and East. Whatever position I occupied, it was the result of colleagues, of my comrades in the movement, who had decided in their wisdom to use me for the purpose of focusing the attention of the country and the international community on me. I have always regarded myself, in the first place, as an African patriot. Apart from life, a strong constitution, and an abiding connection to the Thembu royal house, the only thing my father bestowed upon me at birth was a name, Ralilala. The titanic effort that has brought liberation to South Africa and ensured the total liberation of Africa constitutes an act of redemption for the black people of the world. Sabotage did not involve loss of life, and it offered the best hope for future race relations. Bitterness would be kept to a minimum, and if the policy bore fruit, democratic government could become a reality. Africans want the franchise on the basis of one man, one vote. They want political independence. There is nothing I fear more than waking up without a program that will help me bring a little happiness to those with no resources, those who are poor, illiterate, and ridden with terminal disease. I came across few whites as a boy at Quinu. The local magistrate, of course, was white, as was the nearest shopkeeper. Occasionally, white travelers or policemen passed through our area. These whites appeared as grand as gods to me, and I was aware that they were to be treated with a mixture of fear and respect. The education I received was a British education, in which British ideas, British culture, British institutions were automatically assumed to be superior. There was no such thing as African culture. Our single most important challenge is therefore to help establish a social order in which the freedom of the individual will truly mean the freedom of the individual. At the outset, I want to say that the suggestion that the struggle in South Africa is under the influence of foreigners or communists is wholly incorrect. I have done whatever I did because of my experience in South Africa and my own proudly felt African background, and not because of what any outsider might have said. From the beginning, Mandela and Tambo was besieged with clients. We were not the only African lawyers in South Africa, but we were the only firm of African lawyers. For Africans, we were the firm of first choice and last resort. I was first imprisoned in Pretoria, and then, thereafter, I was taken to Robben Island. I stayed there for a couple of weeks. I was taken back to Pretoria when I was charged in the Rivonia trial, when I was then sent to Robben Island for life. Especially for those of us who lived in single cells, you had the time to sit down and think. And we discovered that sitting down just to think is one of the best ways of keeping yourself fresh and able to address the problems facing you, and you had the opportunity also of examining your past.